Joined today by Kevin Broadus, head coach at Morgan State. And coach, I want to just jump right into it. I'm curious to know if you've ever had any personal experience dealing with either nonviolent police harassment or non-lethal police brutality. And if the answer is yes, I'd love it if you'd be willing to share a story or two on that topic.
You know, being a African-American man in the inner city, growing up in Washington, D.C., I've traveled in circles where as I've gotten older, and as I've progressed in my career, I've done things whereas I've bought cars that's probably brought attention to being a black man in America, being, driving somewhere and the police question probably how did I get it? So to your question is, I've been pulled over numerous times in my lifetime, especially in a few years ago when I had less gray. You pulled over. I've had police ask me, "What do you do for a living?" Or just have me sitting there for 30, 45 minutes, and I just say, first thing I ask officer is, "There's something wrong?" You were going 5 miles over the speed limit. Something is, and just have me sitting in my car for like 30, 45 minutes. And that's happened many of times. And yeah, black man drives a nice car. What is the first thing coming to his mind? Maybe drug dealer or whatever, what have you. As far as brutality, I have not, and I've lived in the inner city. I grew up in Northeast DC. I've seen it firsthand. I've never been on the receiving end of it because, when you grow up in those areas, your outlet is either sports or the wrong path. And, going to the recreation centers and the boys clubs, kept me away from it. But some of the guys that would mill around at the rec centers, get in a little trouble, police come, it's sad some of the things we've seen growing up. But as far as me, brutality, no. But just being profiled, driving a Porsche or a Mercedes, someone's like, my thing is I can't work hard and buy nice things. And, just some of the dumb, idiotic responses you get, from the authorities, the police authorities is not even necessary. So those have been my main, things. I've seen friends, get beat and it was scary. And this is the thing that I always think about now. Back in the 80s, 70s and 80s when I was a child, there were no cell phones. It was normal. And you see those police for years and years beat up on kids in the neighborhood. Now, like I told someone yesterday, everyone has a cell phone. That's the beauty of life. You can go stop at a corner where people are holding signs up or a homeless man in the bus stop, guaranteed to have a phone with a camera on it. And that's the beauty of life. Now, it's not a secret anymore. It's not a secret anymore. It's the world knows we have a problem. Police brutality is a problem. And we need to correct it. Too many people, are trying to do things the right way. They get caught up. Just think about this. Let me track back and think about this. The young lady's in Central Park. She's telling this man, "I will call the police on you and you will get arrested." The man is doing nothing wrong. If that man did not have a camera, or someone didn't have a camera to record it, that man could have been doing 20 to life. That's the society we were living in. And I'm hoping now with, all the cameras and, the people that want to see right, like yourself, I hope this change. I can see change coming. The sad part about this whole thing, a man had to lose his life for us to get to this. That's the sad part. But now we have no choice but either correct it or this world is going to just, the greatest country in the world the United States. Either it's going to implode or we're going to come together and be one. And I had this conversation with our players, you know, in today's society, they call them the millennials. The millennials are different than the 60s and the 70s. See, in the 60s and the 70s, people was teaching hate and racism. You're not born with it, you're taught it. Kids now come from interracial families. I mean, people educated the same together, you know, it's different now. And the thing that I love about it is it's out in the open. It's in the open. And it's on us now to do something about it. You know, like I told my team yesterday, I said, let me say something and make sure y'all understand something. You won't see me tweeting out nothing about this. I don't tweet. I'm not going to tweet because another coach or coaches say, oh, we got to hear from this certain coach or that coach. No. I'm going to go down on the front line and show. See, I don't have no problem with my blackness. I went downtown and saw what was going on. I plan to go back on Saturday to really stand up for my kids, my grandkids to be. And, you know, people need this. People can say something, but really don't feel it and really not into what's going on. And I think that's what's, you know, happening. I heard one coach say, yeah, I'll get my secretary to craft something. What does that tell you? He's not really putting his heart and soul in it. I'm not going to say no name, but that's where we are. You can hide behind it. You can do whatever. Like Kareem had the best. I mean, that statement he said was beautiful. You know, it's like dust. You know, racism is like dust. I mean, until the light shines on it, you won't even see it. You never even know. That's the most, I mean, that hit home right there. That was well thought and well put together. And I'm going a lot of places because I got a feeling about this. And I just think us as people have to come out of our shell because think about this, people. If I go and craft up some statement, somebody's going to come behind me and correct this, that, and the other. No, go out there and be on the front line. You don't have to craft something to make it sound good, sound like you're righteous and you're not. Because some of those people who did that, I guarantee you don't feel that way. You know, and you got to be careful, you know, about this. It's interesting. Like I said, when I went downtown the other day, the beauty of this is I saw just as many white folks. That's why I say times are changing than I did African-American folks. So there's hope. You know, like I heard, I watched the Al Sharpton do a eulogy today for Mr. Floyd and his family. And he says, you know, once upon a time in the 60s and the 70s, that's what they were saying, keep hope alive. But see, now we have faith. And faith and hope go together. So if you have faith, we can do more with hope, you know, because, you know, back then you had no faith in nothing. Because, the brutality that was going on during the riots was unbelievable. And now, I just think it'll change. I really do. I think, and I hope, and I pray, and maybe I'm oblivious to, you know, I just think people see the unfair treatment. And I say this, you know, I have a lot of friends of all colors. And one of my friends said to me, you know, damn, I didn't know it was that bad. Of course not. You know, your coming up was different than mine. And I'm not saying we were dirt poor, and we weren't. You know, we had a tight-knit family that, you know, we're lower middle class. But we lived with it. We dealt with it. We loved. We had no problem with being who we were. And of course, we strive to go to college to be better so our kids would be better. We did all that. But they didn't see the struggles, you know, that we went through, you know. And we're in a, as I would say and think, a delicate place right now. This country is in a delicate place because when you have leadership that has not come out and tried to unite this country and bring some sense to it and peace to it, it's hard. It's hard to overcome it. All we want to hear is him say, you know, some kind of soothing, kind words, whether, and I shouldn't say whether he means it or not, because we want him to mean it. But now we really know. And that's the beauty too. Sometimes when people don't say nothing, you know, and we just need some leadership that will lead this country to be one powerful country. See, this is the thing. Think about this. This is how deep, and I'm listening. I was telling a friend, I look at CNN now more than I look at ESPN, and I've never been like that. But you have a commander-in-chief that's telling the National Guard, the military, to go against his own people. That's deep. So think about this. Peaceful protest there. Tear gas, shooting rubber bullets, whatever it is. Who does that? We're Americans. And when you have that, that's some deep, deep stuff if you think about it. Our military is to serve and protect this country. Those people who they're out there peacefully protesting. Wars cross the water. It's not here. We don't need a revolution or we don't need a civil war. We need each other to be on the same page. And this has opened my eyes as a 50-year-old man to a lot of things. It has really opened my eyes. And some of the things that you take for granted, you sit back and say, wow, you know, like I was looking at something about the West Virginia senator, one of the guys, he was making a comment, all presidents are welcome here except that guy, Barack Obama. Why isn't he, what did he ever do? I mean, the hate in some people's soul, you know, it's scary. You know, you're not born with hate. They were showing a commercial, two kids, different races coming together, hugging each other. You're born with love. You're taught hate. And it's just sad. And I just hope we as people get this right. I really hope we get this right because, you know, people talk about the Bible and religion and politics don't mix. They do, to a degree. They do. And with a pandemic going on here, and you have this situation that's going on in our country, we need spiritual guidance because, you know, spirit, the guidance from the spirit of the book and our Savior, Jesus Christ. You know, some people believe, some people don't in God, but most people believe in God, I would hope, is peace be with you, brother. They always say peace be with you. In all different type of religions, they say it in their own way. You know, assalamu alaikum, peace be with you. And it's different ways, but we're not at peace right now. We're troubled. And we need spiritual help right now. When the president went and did that photo op, it's, you know, you don't play with it. I've been told, you don't play with, you know, religion. It's not something you play with. Just to walk across the street, hold up a Bible, and someone asks him, is that your Bible? He says, it's a Bible? No. You know, we're in troubled times. But if we come together as one, we'll be fine. We'll be fine.
Well, I appreciate those sentiments, and you touched on a lot of issues. And we should maybe expand this into a 3-hour podcast the next time we do it.
Yeah, I'm kind of passionate about it because think about this, people. We all have kids, or we have nephews, nieces, we have brothers, sisters. We have someone else in our family. That could have been any one of us. It could have been one of us, period. Okay. Whatever would happen didn't warrant that man losing his life. You know, it did not add up. You know, and it's sad because he lost his life. He has a 6-year-old daughter. He has other kids, you know, and they won't ever see him again. And just to think, the police that did it, they're saying it's going to be hard to get a conviction because of X, Y, and Z. They will now because of what's going on, but that's the society we were in. Police they were hidden behind so many laws, constitutional laws, it's hard to prosecute, even when they do wrong. With that being said, you know, that could have been any of us. And the one thing, if I didn't get out of anything, out of this whole thing that just happened, that man's daughter said, my dad changed the world. She's 6 years old. And yes, he did. How about that? That's rough, man.
No,
my dad
never have to say that.
6 years old. Then I mean, but I have faith that gives me hope that they'll get this right. You know, just, you know, growing up in Washington, D.C., and I was very young when the riots, this could have got really ugly. But people don't want to live like that. They don't want to go through that. And the military and the police, they're always saying now the good cop, it's more good cops than bad cops. How do we know? You know, just be who you are. Be who you are. If you're a bad cop, maybe you shouldn't be doing that type of work.
Well, I've been saying for a long time that it is, in my opinion, in order for a police officer to consider himself to be a good cop, it is a prerequisite to speak up against the bad cops. And if you don't speak up against the bad cops, then
you're just as bad.
Then you are a bad cop.
Exactly.
So I regret to say, and I can tell you part of the problem, Coach, with white people is that we're all products of our environment and our childhood and how we were raised. And the police were so nice to me when I'm 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, always with a piece of candy and a pat on the head and a smile and asking you, make sure you're taking care of your mother, you know, big fella, and they were so nice to me. And so it was hard for me to come to the conclusion because I was in we got to get the bad cops out, but there are more good cops than bad cops. Let's not paint with too broad of a brush. I was in that camp until about 2 years ago, and it was hard and it was heartbreaking for me to accept that the reason Frank Serpico's famous is because there ain't that many of them.
Mm-hmm.
And if there were a bunch of Frank Serpicos, he wouldn't have got a movie made about it. And the reality is that we have a cultural problem in policing nationally that protects the bad cops. And if you're inside of a system that protects the bad cops and you're not trying to dismantle that system, I just can't think of you as a good cop. Not anymore. And again, as a white person, it took a long time for me to get there. And it was difficult and it was heartbreaking when I finally did. But my eyes are open now on this topic. And I want to follow up with you, Coach. So you said that you really did touch on so many things. I really do want to dive back in when we both have more time because you touched on I mean, literally a dozen topics that are very worth diving into deeper. But you said that you have been subjected to nonviolent police harassment many times.
Many times.
While not being personally subjected to non-lethal police brutality. But you saw that. And I want to point out to anybody out there listening that, one, the nonviolent police harassment of Black people is also a constitutional violation. So if we're going to say we care about the Constitution, let's fight to make sure it applies to all citizens, not just some. And then the second point is that it sounds like most of the brutality you personally witnessed were with kids who may have been doing wrong. And I just wanted to point out that extrajudicial, due process-free violence against citizens is not okay. There's nothing that's okay about that. If a kid, regardless of race, a young man, if he's doing wrong, selling drugs on a street corner, whatever the case may be, arrest him and charge him. I have no problem with that. Nobody protests when an armed Black bank robber gets killed in a shootout with police, right? You know, but you don't get to beat the shit out of the kid because you're mad that he isn't respecting you or whatever. Like, that's not supposed to be the American way. And it's a flagrant violation of the Fourth Amendment for sure, and probably several others as well. And so my follow-up question to you is, Coach, of your closest circle of Black friends, what percent approximately of them have also experienced either nonviolent police harassment or non-lethal police brutality?
You know, I can't really answer that because a lot of people keep that to themselves. When they're, not unless something ugly comes about it, if a guy gets stopped for no reason, a lot of people keep that to themselves. And a lot of times I've kept it to myself. The reason why is that, first of all, it's uncomfortable. You hate to see that siren and people going past you. That's the most embarrassing and uncomfortable thing. But you don't go and parade to tell everybody. But when it makes you late and it's unjust, you're just furious. But not many of my close friends have really said much about it. Now, it'll come out now that this is all going on. And I haven't talked to a lot of them about it. But more so, I've talked to my team, you know. And it's interesting because we have that problem on campuses with campus polices, and not at Morgan. I've been at different places in campus police. Like when I was at Binghamton, it was one young lady was police. She said, you know, they're following your kid. She told me that. And, you know, you could take it one or two ways. And at that time, I was kind of upset about it, but a couple of those guys were doing wrong. So it was almost like you're mad, but what can you say? And it was it had my mind all messed up because we had a kid get caught for doing something wrong, but they made it sound like he assassinated someone. You know, it happens like we were saying all the things that we went through on that campus, the regular student was doing it and you never heard of it. But these young Black, 13 young Black men, anytime one or two of them, front page of the newspaper, and they just ran it on the news up there like it was, you know, we was the show. And that was the beginning that's when I really saw the difference of, you got to know the environment you're in. You know, more so than my friends going through it, I saw it more so when I was in Binghamton. You know, just dealing with, you know, the system up there. And there's some great people in Binghamton. I still talk to a lot of them. It was just, you had that deep-rooted certain people that was on the police force there that just didn't care for young African-American men. And that was the thing more so that I've seen, that I've dealt with hand in hand, more so than my friends telling me, my close 10 friends, you know, I've listened to Coach Thompson tell me about, you know, back when he first went to Georgetown and stuff like that, how people, you know, the racism. But the main thing that I've dealt with in life when I was at Binghamton University was some of those police just, you know, tracking our guys just to, you know, harass them. But I got it because if you do wrong, then they're going to follow you. So.
Well, you really are touching on 100 really important points. And, you know, what you just pointed out reminds me that a lot of white people who are racist, maybe not a 10 or a 9, not a KKK type racist, but a racist nonetheless, they'll point to the crime stats. And I always tell them that there's no such thing as crime stats, there's arrest stats. And so if the police do a sweep through a housing project and arrest 15 kids for smoking weed, while not doing a sweep through an elite liberal arts college and not arresting 15 white kids who were smoking weed, did the white kids commit a crime or not? And it's kind of to your point, it really is emotionally and mentally complicated for you as a black leader and mentor of mostly young black men, that when they're doing something wrong, essentially right next to a white person doing the same thing wrong, and they're the one who gets handcuffs put on them, and you're put in a situation where, like, you want to teach your kid that that wasn't okay, right, but you also want to stand up for your kid because he got picked on and the other kid didn't get picked on.
Right.
And that is a really difficult balancing act, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's difficult, but, you know, those are the times we live in. And we have to, you know, like I keep coming back to this. You gotta have faith. You gotta have faith that it's gonna change.
Well, and to that point, so I don't have any black friends my age who have not been either unconstitutionally nonviolently harassed or unconstitutionally non-lethally brutalized. And George Floyd was a teammate of mine in Summer League.
Wow.
So now I hadn't seen her in a long time, so I'm not going to say we were friends.
Right.
We were acquaintances with a friendly relationship. But now I know black people who fall in all 3 categories, but literally 100% on my end. And to your point of hope and faith, you don't want to get so caught up in celebrating the progress that you forget we haven't finished the race. But it does cause me a degree of hope that, because I'm asking white coaches to survey their black players. Have you had these experiences? And I was expecting it to be 100% because that's what it is for people our age. I've never asked a black person your age if they've ever had one of those 2 things happen and been told no. Except for one time. I have one friend it's never happened to, but I asked him, what about your 10 closest friends? He said, oh yeah, they've all experienced. So he's just like literally a unicorn. But with the black college kids, it's the one was like 80%, one's 75%, one's like 57%. It's all over half, which is, of course, troubling as shit, and goes to show you how much more work we have left to do. It does cause me to be at least a little bit hopeful and optimistic, knowing that those numbers are going down over the course of the last couple of decades, partially because of cameras. I think that's Steve Jobs' real lasting contribution to the world. The cell phone.
Cameras have changed the world.
Well, it's and you're right, to your point. Almost all white people under 30 who I know don't think this is isolated. They think it's a major problem. Now, the older the white people get, they still want to be like, oh, that, and that's the purpose of these videos. So you were not really able to answer the question about your circle of friends. And I didn't ask you, and I don't know if you have surveyed your players at Morgan or in the past on this topic, but my question is, without percents involved, do you feel like police harassment and brutality and misconduct toward black people is an isolated problem or a pervasive problem that we need to address?
I would have to think on that. I mean, I can't just sit here and say it's one or the other. It's a problem. It's a huge problem in all facets. And it's a scary problem. Isolated, See, I don't. This is the thing that I don't want. I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to be like Drew Brees, you know. And I spoke on this earlier. Drew Brees. Sometimes people throw a camera in front of sports athletes, and they think they're doing the right thing, saying the right things. You need to sometimes, when you're on this platform, you need to think about before you answer some of those things. And what he did, now my thoughts are totally opposite of his, because kneeling has nothing to do with the flag. That had nothing to do with it. This man protested, and I know I'm going off of what you answered, but I want to say this before I got to go. This man protested for these social injustices that's going on. This is what he was saying all along. He wasn't kneeling, taking it out on the flag. He was protesting, saying, we need to change this. And Drew Brees just took it and just said, I'm against anybody who kneels during the flag. No, this is not about the flag. And let me go off to another thing. I can't think of the writer's name that wrote all the stuff about Kaepernick and, you know, basically saying he has no place in the NFL and blah, blah, blah. And he talked to owners and this, that, and the other. Came out the last few days and said he was dead wrong. And I can't think of his name. He's a writer. He said he was dead wrong about Colin Kaepernick. I feel bad. And these owners should feel bad. This man was talking about this, what was it, 4 years ago? And everybody tried to sweep it under the rug, get him out of the league, and let him go away. He never went away. And now they're coming back to say, well, maybe he should be on an NFL team. And I'm going to go to a step further. Nike had everything to lose in backing Colin Kaepernick. Not much to gain. Which shows me now why they're so much far ahead than most of their, you know, the people, you know, the Adidas and other shoe companies. Because they had a vision and they thought, they heard this man out. Now they look like geniuses. I mean, this thing is going to open, hopefully open a lot of people's eyes. It shut one person's eyes for the rest of his life and open everybody else's life, eyes up to what's going on. That's the thing I always think about. You know, they had to close his two eyes to open everybody else's eyes. Whether people out here believe it was right, wrong, and different, it opened their eyes to what's going on. So that's where I'm at right now with that. And it's just rough for me.
That's powerfully stated. I have not heard it stated that way before. So let me rephrase the question then, because you said that pervasive versus isolated, you need to think about that more. You did a couple sentences later refer to it as a massive problem. So it's not a small problem. It's a big problem that we need to address and face. Is that fair to? Is that fair characterization?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's kind of the point of the videos is that's I'm using the hashtag not isolated because literally when these things happen, an army of white people say this is an overreaction. These are isolated instances, right? And so the point of these videos is to counter that narrative. So whether it's the exact word isolated versus pervasive or big versus small, it's really not the point. I just wanted people to watching this to understand that you, as someone who's had a lot of experience dealing with the media, are someone who has learned to choose your words carefully and not to let other people put words in your mouth. Right. And so as a veteran interviewer, I totally understand, or interviewee, I totally understand why you were reluctant to answer that question directly. And that's why I wanted to revisit it, because the main point is that this is a real thing and it's a big thing. And these protests are not overreactions. If anything, they're much delayed underreaction, you could almost say. And so that's the reason I'm putting these videos out there. Is I just want to open white moderates' eyes that these things happen a lot, right? To me, isolated would be if you got pulled over once for driving a nice car when you weren't speeding, and of course you've been pulled over a lot more than once.
I've been pulled over for not having a front tag on my car. And my first response was, it's a lot of other crime going on in the city of Baltimore. This is not a criminal. Okay, I have my tag here. There's no bracket for it. I have it, You're going to make me sit in the car for 45 minutes just to run my tag, see if I have a warrant, see if any. You can get that in 2 minutes with today's technology. I have no warrants, I don't have a criminal record or anything. I knock on wood, because with all this going on, but anyway, we got a ways to go. This has, like I said, it's closed one man's eyes and it's opened a lot of people's eyes to a lot of stuff going on, and we got a long way to go. We just, like the saying is, wake up. We all got to wake up. So,
Coach, I really appreciate you taking some time out of your day to sit with us and share your perspectives
anytime
on this issue. And we need to continue the conversation, because you really did, in the answer to my first question, you really did touch on a lot of issues that would be extremely worthwhile to unpack. So again, a million thanks. And of course, we'll stay in touch. And I really appreciate your time.
My guy, I appreciate it, Pete.